Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. So the videos finally come. Salty Dog. Alright, so this card has a fairly unique effect in the game that I wanted to discuss because it's similar to a few other cards, but they're not really being used, but it's a cool mechanic. I want to show you guys the best scenario, how to best use these very unusual, super high attack, super low health cards. And of course, I wanted to highlight the little salty dog here. Now, it took me a while to come up with games where I could really highlight the strength of these cards because, well, they don't really have any text there and they kind of suck. In fact, most people know they kind of suck, and usually the only time you encounter cards like these, specifically the Salter, is Arena. And in Arena, when you get it, you're not too happy, but you shouldn't be that sad. There's a lot of other cards that are significantly worse than Salty Dog. One thing to note is that a lot of newer players in Hearthstone, as you guys could tell from, I casted my own video from when I first started playing, people often overlook cards without text. Often cards without text are actually surprisingly good because they're kind of like setting the bar. Like, you have a Yeti. A Yeti, 4 mana, 4/5 is super good. 5 mana, 7/4 is not very good. And the reason is when you have a lot of attack, it's usually not a good circumstance to play the card because it's going to have a low amount of health. So if you're struggling, if you're going back and forth on the board, or if you're losing the board, a creature with high attack and low health is basically useless because the 4 health of like the Salty Dog will often be taken away by a 2-drop creature with 3 attack combined with a hero power. So your 5 mana will have a very poor investment. And yeah, that's really all there is. Its 7 attack often won't really do much because there's very few creatures that have 7 toughness. They usually max out around 6, and the most common one is 5. 5 is like, if you have 5 attack, you have enough attack. You can kill most things. And this is especially true in Constructed, where people run even fewer big minions. And the ones that do, well, usually kill them with cards like Big Game Hunter, which makes Salty Dog even worse in Constructed because it's got that 7 attack. If Salty Dog was a 6/5 for 5, it would be considerably better, but it's not. It's kind of a piece of crap. But it's a pirate. In Constructed, some players have used Salty Dog like a one-of in the pirate rogue deck, just because Ship's Cannon is so powerful and because pirates in general have like a huge tempo swing. And this actually works well with these type of stats, believe it or not. The piratey deck allows you to temporarily achieve a huge tempo turn, like a huge tempo situation where you are the aggressor. And Salty Dog works with that, 1, because it's a pirate, but 2, because this is the situation that these stats are actually favored in. So if you have a bunch of small creatures, you want to play more small creatures along with creatures that deny your opponent from casting a big minion. Now, big minions in Constructed don't really exist. People just run mostly clear, so that's why the card is not really played, even in Pirate Constructed decks. That's why it sucks, so don't get confused about that. But in Arena, people do play big minions. People play Boulder Fist Ogres. People play creatures of that like. And if you play a Salty Dog when you're winning, when you have a bunch of small minions, let's say, the counter to like if a guy has a bunch of small minions, the counter to that is to play a big minion because you can start, pinging them off one at a time. So the Salty Dog denies that for a very efficient mana cost. So it is the tempo play. In Arena, it has the downside of dying to Flame Strike. So the 4 health isn't very good, but it's one of those cards that if you can afford to save just a little bit, it will redeem value. And just so you guys know, yes, again, the card is kind of bad, but it has this use. It can really work in this way in some cases. Some people know about this from like its closest creature. The other 7/4 for 5 mana, Stalag, which is very well known as a piece of crap in Constructed, but sometimes that 7 damage really kicks it into gear, and even in Constructed, sometimes a little bit useful. 7/4 will never really be played in Constructed. Stalag's brother Fugan, if the Death Rattle was still what it is and both cards were 4/7s, then it'll be played, but The reason the Fugue and Stalag combo is so bad is because Stalag is just way too awful. But still, some people see use of it. The closest card in the new set, in Blackrock, is the Druid of the Flame. Druid of the Flame is played in basically exactly the same situation, but it has an even stronger effect. So usually play Druid of the Flame in a deck where you expect him to play as a 5/2. That's pretty important. And you play him as a 5/2 because it threatens 5 damage for 3 mana. And, you know, people don't actually like Druid of the Flame that much because that situation is pretty rare. And even when it is, it's still pretty easily killed, which really highlights just how crappy Salty Dog is. If you can put down 5 damage on the board in a creature for 3 mana and has more than 1 health, which is quite relevant. On the other case, you can put in 7 damage for 5 mana. You know, that's so much worse, and the 5 damage for 3 mana is still not being played. So, yeah. Salty Dog kind of, well, really sucks, especially in Constructed. But I want to show you guys some highlights. I made a deck today in Arena with just a bunch of big-ass dudes, and it kind of worked. It actually won me the game in a few scenarios, and that really is a highlight to show. I do want to mention that in these videos, it just happened to be the times that I was stuffing my face on stream, so you're going to hear basically the acoustics of Hearthstone instead of the Krip talking about the game. But hopefully the games and the emotions, the facial expressions at least, will speak for themselves. Enjoy the highlights. Maybe next time you have an option to pick a Salty Dog or similar type of card in Arena, you'd pick it. It's not quite the worst. Enjoy the clips.
Let's get salty!
Against you.
It's time for a little blood. Who you want me killed?
All the while. I must safeguard the land. Go play. Oh. Nox Ramus is all. Go play. Ready to ride.
I hear you got a problem.
Natural mistake.
Do you like to play with fire?
Go play.
Problem solved.
A natural mistake. Well played.
Snakes. It has to be snakes.
A natural mistake.
Snakes. It has to be snakes.
For the wild. Well played.
I'm flying!
For the wild. The gates are open.
I feel icky.
I can see. I smell blood.
For a little while, I pack a big punch!
Don't mess with Tusker.
I must safeguard the land. Feel nature's wrath. For the wild. Feel nature's wrath.
We must cleanse the Sunwell.
For the wilds.
Summoning portal open.
You love my new recipe. Get back, yes, steady dogs! Yes, steady dogs!
We must cleanse the Sunwell.